All right, let's dive into the absolutely wild world of ultra-luxury whiskey. We're talking about a world where a single bottle can sell for more than a house. Way more. So, the big question we're going to tackle today is, how on earth is that even possible?
Just take a second and look at that number. $19.3 million. Seriously, what in the world could be worth that much? A yacht? A private jet? Well,
That's right. That was the price for one single cask of Ardbeg single malt, distilled way back in 1975. Now that cask does hold around 440 bottles, but still, it set the all-time record. And believe me, this is just where our story begins.
So yeah, that brings us right to the heart of it, doesn't it? The core mystery we're going to unpack in this explainer. What is going on here?
it's a completely fair question, right? I mean, is the taste that good? Is it all about the age, the story, or is there something else at play? Well, let's break it down. And we're going to start with the most legendary, most famous bottle of them all.
To really understand the absolute peak of this market, you have to know the story of the Macallan 1926. For collectors, this is it. This is the undisputed holy grail of whiskey.
Okay, so let's just process the basics here. It was distilled in 1926. Then it sat in a single sherry cask for 60 years. 60! That's an entire lifetime. When they finally bottled it in 1986, they only produced 40 bottles. That's it. So right out of the gate, it was one of the rarest, oldest whiskeys on the planet. But believe it or not, that's not even the whole story.
See, this is where Macallan did something that was just genius. They didn't just sell it as an old whiskey. They commissioned famous artists to design custom labels, turning these bottles into unique, individual pieces of art. And this table just shows you how powerful that decision was. Remember, it's the exact same liquid inside each of these bottles, but the one with the Valerio Adami pop art label fetched $2.7 million. The one-of-a-kind, hand-painted bottle by Michael Dillon, over $1.5 million. Even Macallan's own special fine and rare label went for almost $2 million. This is the proof the art and the story became just as valuable, if not more valuable, than the 60-year-old whiskey itself.
So this idea that the value goes way beyond what's inside the bottle, well, it doesn't stop with artist labels. Sometimes the bottle is the main event.
I mean, just look at this thing. It's called the Macallan Intrepid, and it is an absolute monster. It stands 5 foot 11 inches tall, taller than me, and holds 311 liters. It is literally the world's largest bottle of whiskey. Its sheer record-breaking size is the whole story, and it's why it sold for $1.4 million. And the value doesn't always come from a single bottle, big or small. Another huge factor driving these prices is the idea of the curated collection, where owning the complete set is the real prize.
You see this at auctions all the time. The Dalmore Decades Collection, 6 bottles, one for each decade from the 50s to the 2000s, sold for over $1.2 million. The Macallan collaborated with the famous crystal maker Lalique on a collection that took 11 years to complete, and that set fetched almost $1 million. It's that collector's impulse, you know? You gotta have the whole story.
Now, for the longest time, Scotland completely dominated this luxury space. They were the undisputed kings. But a new powerhouse has emerged, one that brings a totally different approach to the table: Japan.
And let me tell you, they are not playing around. A bottle of Yamazaki 55-year-old sold for nearly $800,000. A Carwiza 52-year-old for almost $500,000. So what's the secret? What's driving the incredible rise of Japanese whiskey?
Well, a huge piece of the puzzle is this kind of romantic, kind of sad idea of the lost distillery. Carwiza, for example, shut down for good in the year 2000. It's gone forever. That means every single bottle of its whiskey out there in the world, that's it. No more will ever be made. That absolute finite supply creates an incredible mystique and sends prices to the moon.
But with Japanese whiskey, it's also about a deeper philosophy. Just listen to this quote from Suntory's chief blender about the Yamazaki 55. He compares it to a Buddhist statue. He says it's calm and mysterious, requiring time to truly enjoy the inner beauty. Wow, that tells you everything. This isn't just about making a product, it's about crafting a piece of art, something with an almost spiritual quality. And that story, that philosophy, adds a value that's, well, priceless.
Okay, so we've looked at Scottish legends, Japanese philosophy, and ginormous bottles. Let's pull all of this together and figure out the actual formula here. What are the key ingredients?
When you really boil it all down, it's never just one thing. It's a powerful combination of 5 key factors. First, you need extreme rarity, like a lost distillery or just a handful of bottles. Then you need incredible age. We're talking half a century or more. The power of the brand is absolutely crucial. It has to be a legend like the Macallan. Then you need that extra layer of artistry, a crystal decanter, a famous artist's label. And finally, you have provenance, which is just the unique, verifiable story of that specific bottle. You blend all 5 of those ingredients together, and that's how you create a multi-million-dollar whiskey.
So at the end of the day, what we're looking at aren't really beverages anymore. They've transcended that. They are cultural artifacts. They're liquid investments. They are, quite literally, stories that you can hold in your hand, captured in glass.
And all this leaves us with one last fascinating question to think about. At what point does the liquid in the bottle stop being the most important thing and the bottle itself becomes the treasure? Something to ponder. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer.